to talk to us about how did you find out about the whole food plant-based diet? What was your reaction? What was your experience?
I found out about the whole food plant-based diet through you, which is an interesting odyssey in and of itself. But no, it's been quite a ride. I had been experimenting with juicing, intermittent fasting, and really got some great results in terms of weight loss. But everything ultimately ended up being a form or a version of yo-yo dieting. And so when you started discussing with me some of the advantages to a whole food plant-based diet, of course, as I've stated in other videos, I was a little apprehensive. I grew up on a farm, a dairy farm. As a matter of fact, I can recall a time a group of Finlanders came to the farmhouse and taught my parents how to make cheese out of colostrum milk, if you can imagine that. So yeah, I mean, I was a complete meat and potato girl. I loved dairy, I should say. And I was a cheese addict. And I've since learned that cheese actually has an opioid type ingredient in it, which is probably there so the babies continue to milk. But as of all things in life, we have to move on beyond the breast, right, and grow up. And I certainly have with my nutrition. And I think what snagged me is when you told me that I could eat as many potatoes as possible. And the other interesting piece is that there's no really calorie counting. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this a try. Here you are, I think at the time you were 63, 62, and you looked, in fantastic shape. You talked about a lot of the health benefits that you saw in terms of your cholesterol level dropping and your A1C and so on and so forth. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this a try because he mentioned some food groups that I do love, potatoes being one. And so basically what I did is I went to Walmart. And I just loaded my cart with pickled beets, sauerkraut, potatoes, and a variety of beans. Now, I happen to love dark red kidney beans, and I have just a phenomenal kick-ass little chilled kidney bean salad that I'll be sharing with everybody. And oatmeal, and I kind of just survived on that. I did go out and purchase some Ezekiel bread, and I really love that bread, but I did try to minimize my bread intake. And I started experimenting with sweet potatoes. I really had never been a big fan of sweet potatoes, but of course I've always loved squash. So the point being, I kept it very, very simple. I did not even look at the ingredients. I mean, I know a lot of the things that I was buying were probably high in sodium, but I was just trying to baby step my way through this. And I stuck with it for literally 4 weeks. I kind of did the Adam Sutt approach, really. I mean, I kept it very simple. I'm not going to eat any meat. I'm cutting out all meat. I'm cutting out all dairy. I'm going to keep it really simple. And of course, I was continuing to do my workout regimens, which was really interesting to me is after about, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks, I had been working on one of my Beachbody videos and I could never get every single move done in completion. Over the course of the video, I was always having to take little breaks. And within a matter of weeks, I just blew through that video. So I have really benefited greatly from changing my diet. I mean, I've never had any issues with high cholesterol. My blood sugars have always been in the normal range. But I will state that I felt very clear. Like I just had this, I don't know, you feel clean. You just feel so clean and so healthy. And I really noticed just my endurance. And I feel like I'm gaining upper body strength. I've been very challenged with injuries that I've had to deal with. One being, my arm from the farm accident, and I've never been able to get adequate strength in my right arm. And I'm right-armed, and I'm right-handed, I should say, and it's always bothered me. And it's still not as strong as my left arm, but I will tell you this whole food plant-based diet has really made a difference in terms of me gaining strength.
Now, one thing that's of interest to people is weight management. Did you lose any weight on this plan?
I dropped around 9 pounds without even thinking about it. And this probably happened. I mean, it was weird because I would just step on a scale and I'd be like, oh, gosh, I lost another pound. Oh, I'm down 1.5 pounds. And by this time, my little journey, I was starting to pick up some desserts I was making. They were certainly considered vegan. So, but I was incorporating some of the plant-based butters, making my favorite strawberry crisp, which I think if you're not struggling with diabetes and heart disease, it's okay to incorporate those types of desserts, but keep the minimum. But I was doing that and I was stuffing myself. You know, what's really interesting is just the other day, I was listening to an interview that Rip Estelstein had on this Plant Strong podcast with that Kiki, Plentiful Kiki.
Mhm.
Her story is so inspirational. And my story kind of mimics her. I love how she portrays the plate and focusing on 50% of your, your starchy carbohydrates and then balancing them with your non-starchy carbohydrates, or else breaking up your plate, focusing on 3/4 of non-starchy to 1/4 of starchy carbohydrates. And I think that's a fantastic piece of advice. My evolution has been this thus far. I started out in Walmart buying foods readily accessible to the average American. I kept it very simple. I've been vegan now for about 1.5 years. At about the 3 to 4 month mark, I really started playing around with recipes. And of course, my go-to has always been Dr. McDougall. He has been so inspirational. Now I'm at a phase where I'm really looking at AJ. I'm trying to incorporate foods where there's absolutely no oil, no sugar, no salt. I'm learning how to cook with water. I'm learning how to make salad dressings that are healthy. Whereas before I would either avoid the salad or, resort to my legume salads. But right now I'm kind of leaning more towards the Joel Fuhrman bent. I really want to experiment and incorporate more in different types of foods.